Albert Einstein spent the last 20 years of his life searching for this answer: how gravity is connected to electricity. Do not be quick to reject the following realities, because if you're not able to conceive the reality of the following facts, you will certainly have a difficult time understanding electrical truth. Number one, gravity is absolutely a pushing force. 2, space is not empty. The Michelson and Morley experiment failed because they didn't understand that the ether surrounds the earth and is moving with the earth. Number 3, charges in electricity do not travel. Electrical current is a wave. Inflating a balloon with air is exactly equal to inflating a capacitor with pushing gravity. Pushing gravity that is held back equals an electric potential, and pushing gravity that is accelerated equals electricity. We need to repeat this because it's a difficult thing for a lot of people to comprehend, but gravity is absolutely a pushing force. All stars are combusting into quantum particles, which then condense down into all the planets at a high velocity. This is the reality of what we feel as the force of gravity. Pushing gravity also gives us the exact explanation of what magnetism is. As the quantum particles of gravity flow down into the earth, they pass through atomically aligned metal magnets, and you can see here the 3 different scenarios. When south is against north, we get an attraction, and the other 2 options give us a repulsion. Magnetism is simply gravity flowing through atomically aligned metal. And now here we can see the exact connection between gravity and electricity. The yellow lines pushing gravity is flowing into the earth, and as it passes through the atomically aligned magnets, it causes a constant force against the rotor. When that rotor turns, as we state here in number 2, gravity accelerated is what we know as electricity. So when that rotor turns, it accelerates against that flow of gravity, which pushes against the free electrons that are on that rotor, causing an electric current. And if that connection is open and the current cannot flow, that then causes gravity to back up into space, into a sphere shape, which is the exact definition of an electric potential. Exactly the same as water flowing over a dam. When that water is dammed up, it causes a lake, which is an energy potential. Gravity backs up into a sphere shape in space, which is an electric potential. When we think of space, we think of it being far away, but this is not true. Space is right beside us. Space permeates our atmosphere, and space itself is not empty. We can see as the magnet is pushed through the coil, that creates an electric current. When that current cannot flow, it forms a sphere in space. We can see here in this picture that gravity under pressure is the definition of electric potential, and the diameter of that sphere is the exact physical definition of the volt. What you are looking at here, believe it or not, is a ball of gravity. A pressure sphere in space, which is the exact definition of electrical potential. Outside the sphere is the pressure of space, and inside the sphere is the pressure of pushing gravity. The surface area on the sphere is the coulomb, the diameter is the volt, and the circumference is the farad. And now we will prove this to you mathematically. One of the biggest mistakes in physics today is when the energy equation E equals mv squared is not reduced down to its core values, mass times acceleration times time. The electric joule, kilograms meters squared per second squared, exactly the same as E equals mv squared, which is exactly the same as E equals ma squared z squared. And now we can see here on the sphere, the coulomb times the volt equals electric energy, ma times az squared. We need to keep in mind that this sphere is a product of an electrical generator pushing a current into an open circuit. The farad multiplied by the volt equals the coulomb. And we know in geometry that the circumference multiplied by the diameter equals the surface area. When the circuit is closed and current is able to flow, the pressure of space compresses this sphere, producing an electrical current. Then you have the surface area, ma, being multiplied by the volt, the distance that the surface area moves in contraction. Here are all the individual electrical SI units. The first column in black are the current SI units known in physics today. Notice how the undefined amp is the cause of such confusion. Because the amp does not have a physical definition, this is the cause of all the barbaric, outdated, confusing units that we see in the first column. In the blue column, we can see that the amp is the coulomb divided by time. The velocity of the coulomb, the surface area of the sphere, moving towards the center of the sphere. Force divided by time. As well, if you look towards the bottom and notice the Tesla, 1 divided by velocity. Look in Wikipedia today and you'll see that the magnetic field of the Earth is 0.00032 teslas. If you take 1 divided by the velocity of Earth orbit, you get 0.000032 teslas. And now the strongest proof that electricity is three-dimensional. On the top we have ma squared z squared, the joule, divided by az squared, the volt, which is distance, gives us ma, the coulomb, the surface area of the sphere. The joule, which is three-dimensional, divided by distance, which is one-dimensional, leaves us 2 dimensions. The coulomb. The coulomb is the 2-dimensional surface area of the sphere. As well now, we can see that the joule divided by a squared z to the 4th, which is area, 2 dimensions. The joule divided by 2 dimensions is 1 dimension, which is the farad. The farad is the circumference of the sphere. The farad is a one-dimensional form of energy. The definition of the farad is capacitance, the ability to hold a charge. You can see in this image that the larger the circumference gets, the more charge that we have, the more electric potential. This sphere in space actually is a capacitor. And if you can imagine, as the sphere gets smaller, the farad, which is one-dimensional, as that sphere gets smaller, that is basically mass accelerating. You have to imagine being in the one-dimensional pathway of the farad. As that sphere got smaller, what you would be witnessing is mass accelerating around that circumference. M over z squared, the acceleration of mass. Now when the circuit is closed and the pushing gravity flows out of the compressing sphere, it acts upon the free electrons that are on the wire. Now we need to know that between the metal of the wire and the wire's coating, at the quantum level, there is a fluid of free electrons, exactly like water covering the earth. And we need to understand that electricity is not the travel of charges. Electricity is a wave. The pushing gravity accelerates the orbits of the free electrons, which causes a wave along the surface of any conductor. And there you have it. You have just witnessed what Albert Einstein struggled over for the last 20 years of his life: the connection between gravity and electricity. Be sure to send this to your friends in science.